and today we were gonna read a new book and new stories. Roy Jefferson's Awesome Friendly Adventure Story, starting at chapter 1 and the end of reading at some kind of page because we didn't have much time to read one chapter. And now already for read this, so I'm back with a lot of stories. Now here we go. And first we should read Roy Jefferson's Awesome Friendly Adventure Story, starting at chapter 1. Once upon a time, in a land far away, there lived a boy named Lowland, and Lowland was a very good boy. Back then, school hadn't been invented yet, so most kids worked on their family farms all day. But Roland's parents thought it was important for their son to get an education and learn to play an instrument. So he spent his days inside reading books and protecting the flute. Roland didn't like practicing the flute very much, but he never complained because he wanted to be a good son. It was a dangerous times when ogres and giants roamed the land, so Roland's parents liked him to stay indoors where it was very safe, especially after dark. Time to come inside now, Roland. Roland had never even been outside in his village. He wished he could go on adventures like his grandpa Bambi, the brave, who used to fly the monsters and search for treasures. But Bambi was never the same after he got back from his adventures, and Roland knew that that was because Bambi didn't always wear his helmet, and he got hit on the head a few too many times. Roland promised his parents that if he went on an adventure, he always wear a helmet and he make a good choices, but they said he'd much safer staying at home and practicing his flute. So the only thing Roland could do was read stories about Bambi and imagine what it would be like to have adventures of his own. Sometimes if Roland read story about a monster in Bambi's stories, he'd get kind of scared, and when he had to sleep on his parents' bed for a few nights, but his parents probably didn't mind because they love him very much. Most of the time, Roland's dad worked from home, but twice a month, he go to the business trip to another village, and Roland's dad would always say the same thing when he left. Look after your mother, son. Right about now, you're probably thinking so far it's pretty boring book, but just wait because in a second it was about get really good. This one morning when Roland's dad was one of his trips, something totally crazy happened. Roland woke up early to practice his flute, but it got really cold in his room. And when he looked out of the window, he couldn't believe it was snowing. Oh yeah, I probably should mention that this is the middle of a summer, because then you'll be even more amazed. Roland ran to the kitchen to tell his mom about the snow, but he couldn't find her anywhere. So Roland was outside to ask the neighbor, Mrs. Nettles, where his mom was, because Mrs. Nettles was pretty noisy and she always knew everybody's business. But when Roland got some really bad news. Mrs. Needles said the white-eared lark came from the village and kidnapped Roland's mom, and he took her to his ice fortress, where he was keeping her as his prisoner. Now, Roland was totally freaked out. You're probably thinking, well, why didn't Roland just call his dad? But guess what? Phones weren't invented yet, so he couldn't. Plus, if Roland noticed that a letter to tell him what happened, it wouldn't get to him for a long time because back then a mole took forever. Okay, guys, I should do a reading at 10 page, okay? Roland was worried about his mom, but he was also worried that his dad was going to say when he got home from his trip. I'm very disappointed in you, son. Roland decided the only thing he could do travel from the ice fortress and rescue his mom on his own. But Roland knew the journey was going to be dangerous, so he went to the basement, got Bammy old armor out of a musty chest, and even though Roland was a little nervous with monsters and said about his mom getting kidnapped, he was also excited because he was going to go on his first adventure. So today's story was about that Roland and his parents were very careful because of the monsters that kidnapping the kids. Kidnapped somebody. So Roland's parents didn't make him go out and play when it's nighttime. So he always practicing the flute and reading the books inside at his house. But he really wanted to go to the adventure by himself. But one day, Roland's dad had gone to the trip to some other village by work. So he was trying to practice the flute, but when he opened the window, he saw outside was snowing. So he had surprise and he was gonna tell mom that it was snowing, but he couldn't see his mom anywhere. So he had tried to go to an adventure. So this is quite an interesting story. So let's see that it's interesting for Roland's first adventure story for tomorrow. And please visit my YouTube, and bye bye everyone.